Allow me at this moment now, ladies and gentlemen, to, with humility, welcome our chief guest, who will be launching the foundation officially, who will be saying a few words about a man he knows very, very well, and with whom he has tangled over the years in various capacities. And then he will also not only declare the foundation launched, but also close the gathering and bid us goodbye. Our hands together for the Minister of Justice, Honorable Norbert Mao.
Okay. They say yadde yadde. The Honorable Dr. Miriam Matembe and the Honorable Dr. Frank Nabuiso and Dr. Kedi and Major Awich, distinguished guests. These days I get invited to events in my own capacity, but somehow circumstances conspire and I end up being delegated by whoever had been invited as guest of honor. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I was going to come here in my own capacity, having been invited by the Kanyehamba Foundation. But then last night, the Prime Minister called me and told me that she had apologized, that she could not make it because she had been given another assignment by the President. So now I'm here. I'm now here in the shoes of the Right Honorable Prime Minister. She did not give me a speech to come and deliver. So in the minutes that I'm going to be here, let me say what this occasion, in my opinion, is about. It's about combating apathy and indifference. There are many times that things happen and you think they don't concern you. Many times people like to be in comfort zones. So, those of you who are in this room, one day when we are talking about Professor Kanyehamba, even in his absence, because that happens to all of us anyway, sooner or later, you'll thank God that you were in this room. And I want you to remember this day that the foundation has been launched. It's called awareness. Many people live like zombies. They're actually not aware of what is happening around them. For instance, if I asked you, what was the color of the Minister of Finance tie? Did you observe it? Now, that is what distinguishes people like Professor Kanyehamba and others. They are fully aware of what is happening, they are thinking about it, and they are engaging with it. And that is why a certain philosopher said, some people die, but they die before they have lived. There is no one who has been more alive than Professor Kanyehamba. So, this occasion here is about engaging with you so that you make the transition from being merely concerned to being involved in whatever is going on. And it is possible to be involved in your own way. Some of you are waiting for the electorate to first make you an MP before you do anything. Whether that day comes or not, you cannot wait. I cannot say I'll wait until I'm president of Uganda to do something. I have that ambition and aspiration, but I cannot fold my hands and say, when it pleases the people to vote me as president of Uganda, then I'll do something. Do whatever you can with whatever you have, wherever you are right now. That really is the inspirational message of Professor Kanyehamba. So, it is very pleasing to see that perhaps it is myself, Dr. Nabwiso, and Dr. Matembe, and perhaps Awich Paula, and maybe my OB, Gawaya Tegule, who have raised the average age in this room. Otherwise, if we left, the average age would drop drastically. Nevertheless, the average age is still in the 30s at most, which is a good thing. So those of you who are here, I think have already made the transition to become involved, not just to be concerned. The passion of Professor Kanyehamba is and has always been to awaken the youth by instilling in them a new consciousness. What do I mean by a new consciousness? You know, there were those who were born as slaves. But through the activism of those who desired freedom and emancipation of slaves, they became aware that actually they were born free. They were only enslaved. That is a new awareness. If someone came to you today and told you, I don't know who is the richest person in Africa, Dangote, assuming they told you that, by the way, we have carried out research and we have found that actually you are Dangote's child, even the way you walk would change instantly. They say, yes, when he was a young man, he met with the person you call your mother, and you are actually a Dangote. I think from that moment you will have a new consciousness, an awareness of who you are. Professor Kanyehamba is not coming to tell you that you are the son or daughter of a billionaire. He's simply coming to tell you something which is even more important, that you are a citizen, not a subject. He's telling you that those who are called honorables, president, their excellencies, are actually your servants. He has said that in so many words, but in my view, that is the summary of all his entire work. As a first-year student in the Faculty of Law, his book, the one we would call his magnum opus, his major work, Constitutional Law and Government in Uganda. So, as you leave this room today, Ask yourself, what is Professor Kanyehamba's cause? His cause is to awaken citizens. Now, in that awakening, as I always say, there are two types of sleeping people. There are those who are genuinely asleep, and then there are those who are pretending to be asleep. Those who are genuinely asleep can easily be woken. Now, those who are pretending to be asleep, they hear everything, they can feel everything. Even if you shake them, they will even assist you by shaking. If you move their hand, they will also help you and move it. They will never wake up. Now, the genuinely sleeping Ugandans are many, and they can wake up anytime. Now, those who are pretending to be asleep are few, but they are the most powerful. My class, the members of parliament, the ministers, high-ranking clergy, people in big business. And you, the young people, are telling us, can't you see that we are about to have an accident? It is a sharp corner, and moreover, on a slope. So Professor Kanyehamba is speaking to us, telling us, wake up. Finally, you have got to know what are the things we admire about Professor Kanyehamba. We admire his powerful intellect. He has a brain. No wonder the foundation logo is a brain. And I think whoever designed it wanted to send a message that you should nurture your brain, protect it, cultivate it. A lot of weeds are being planted in your brains, you young people. Seeds of blackjack, this sere. So, Professor Kanyehamba is struggling to empower you to cultivate your mind, remove, clean it up. Fortify your mind. Don't let your mind be like a sponge. A sponge absorbs anything. If it is put in dirty water, it will absorb it. If it is put in clean water, it will absorb it. Let your brain be like a sieve. The only battle you have to fight is to what you call intellectual self-defense. There are people throwing all sorts of things at you. Some of them are total rubbish because you feel like you want to belong to a particular group. You must always feel the obligation to speak things that you have processed in your own mind. And it doesn't matter whether anybody agrees with it or not. I saw a young man here saying, "Are you still with us?" I assume that with us means, are you in the business of removing the dictator? I think we must remove the dictatorship rather than the dictator. Even if I became president today, with the kind of constitution we have, I am the alpha and omega in giving jobs. What sort of president will I be? It is okay, in every struggle you need a villain. Because a villain makes a struggle simple. So in Uganda, the struggle's mantra can be reduced in 3 letters. IMF. It's Museveni's fault. Even when you have a retake because you spend all your time drinking, it's Museveni's fault. Even If your children are not going to school, despite your salary, because you prefer to spend it on that side dish and at the bar, it's Museveni's fault. Or even sometime for those who are more creative, so that you blame an entire tribe. It used to be Abacholi. They went. So how are we doing? It was Abakakwa. So how are we doing? So that is Professor Kanyehamba. Use your mind to think for yourself. Even when everybody was saying, talking to Konyi is useless, he's a killer, he's cutting off people's lips, he's a rapist, I was speaking to him. Because I had concluded in my own mind that it was the right thing to do. And I have been proved right. Because the guns would have never been silenced without some of us who risked and were booed in Parliament. So don't be afraid to stand up for what you have concluded in your own mind. You may be like Galileo. The entire powerful Catholic Church was saying it is the sun which moves around the earth. And it was dogma and doctrine. So there are dogmas in this country. There are two sets of extreme dogmas. One, Muzei Tova Kumain, that is another dogma, which I oppose also, even though I'm a Minister of Justice. I oppose that dogma. You know that I took a proposal to Cabinet for electronic voting. We are still discussing it. It has very radical proposals, including presiding officers at polling stations wearing body cameras so that everything is done, changing the election, and even making sure that even district local government elections are on the same day, using colored ballot papers and colored polling boxes, so that you only have one desk, you get all the number of ballot papers needed. You don't need to have a whole assembly of presiding officer for presidency and then poll observers for presidency. Presiding officer for MP, polling observers for MP, and each one is issuing. The ballot papers can be issued at one desk. You go with all of them to the basin, tick, and even if you can't read and write, you can at least see colors. You say this is a blue box, a green box, yellow box, you put it there. And even when they are misplaced, they can always be reorganized. After all, it is the same. So we want you to stand up and make concrete proposals about where you want this country to go. That's the legacy of Professor Kanyehamba. I want to state here, for those of you who are mistaken and think Professor Kanyehamba is an enemy of the Uganda government or even of President Museveni, I'm here to tell you, you are thoroughly wrong. You are mistaken. The two of them are not what you call disjoint sets. They have an intersection. And we need political actors that have intersections. We need that. In the parliament, I was campaigning for multipartyism. Dr. Miriam Matembe was telling us, no. We have had very bad experiences. We think you should go slow. But there are many other places where we agreed. We were founder members of the Parliamentary Prayer Breakfast. At a time when I was trying to start a family, I had some issues. She was the one who was counseling me, like a mother. Not in that way, not that Senga of yours. She was a Senga in terms of ethics. So, do we want a Uganda where political actors are disjoint sets? I can meet anybody I can even meet a witch doctor. I can even have a meal with a witch doctor. I will not have a brain transplant. So you, the youth, avoid this, what we call regime change fundamentalism. The other day I heard even members of the UK House of Lords talking about regime change in Uganda. I was a bit disappointed that our government did not speak out and protest. Can you imagine if a debate is in the parliament of Uganda and then a member stood up and said, Madam Speaker, the UK seems to be misunderstanding us. We think we should support the Labour Party. You know, how about Sir Kaima, the leader of the Labour Party in Parliament? We think Uganda should support him. I think the UK will look at us and say, what? You have the audacity to want to. Imagine if the Archbishop of Kampala Archdiocese, the Catholic Archbishop, or even the Archbishop of the Anglican Church said, we think we should support so-and-so to be mufti. You know, I am shocked by how some people think. Even in political parties, you know, you have your own political party. But you are busy making another political party's business your business. I lead a party, as you know. But the people who comment most about DP don't hold a DP card. They have never contributed even 1 shilling to the DP. So, reclaim your brain first and foremost. I believe that is what Professor Kanyehamba's legacy should be. Of course, you need courage. He's extremely courageous. He's not afraid of anyone. He says anything he wants. I was very pleased to see him when he came to State House to receive an award on the day we had a public lecture to honor the late Speaker Jacob Olanya. Some people thought he would not come, and he came. So some of you youth, you actually think these political leaders are enemies until you find them laughing and talking. Then you say, what? So I will never be one of those to incite people against another political leader. I will state what I disagree with. And I have major disagreements virtually with every political leader in Uganda on a few issues. But on the majority of issues, we should be in agreement as Uganda. Professor Kanyehamba is urging you young people to study, study, and study. Study a subject and understand it. Don't just absorb what you read. You know, if tomorrow they said a born-again Christian like Dr. Matembe has been seen parked outside a witch doctor's shrine. No. I'm giving you an example of how debate takes place in Uganda. So, all of you young people, the button you know most is forward. You forward. Beska cited at which doctor's shrine. Then the conversation will be, we didn't know Miriam Matembe was actually consulting, you know, these local oracles. Without first and foremost saying, is it true? Now, that is the difference between somebody who studies and examines an issue and somebody who... I can tell you, as somebody who has been a victim of social media fake news, the latest one I read yesterday that I had resigned as president of DP. I'm sure you have found it. You haven't yet seen it. Yes, I officially, according to Fake News Network, I have resigned. Now, you have 24 hours like anybody else. Somebody else is stealing your time by forcing you to spend your time on TikTok listening to rubbish. And you are young. According to the Bible, it says the days of man are numbered. and it is 70. In the Bible, a score is 20 years. So 3 times 20 is 60. And 10 plus 10, that's 70. So really what is guaranteed biblically is 70 years. And many people have gone beyond that. How many of you are below 35 here? Yeah, you are very many. So 35 is significant because it is the half of 70. So the day you hit 35, you are at half time. Now imagine yourself in a football match, and your opponent has scored goals against you in the first half. How will you feel in the second half? My message to you via Professor Kanyehamba: play the first half well. We are celebrating him because by 35 he had his PhD, he had this, he had scored against life. If life has scored many goals against you, you'll be playing the second half with your tongue out, and you'll be sweating plasma, as they say. So how are you playing your first half well? 4 things as an improvement on the one of the Minister of Finance. Your body, protect your body. Be fit. At the Ministry of Justice, we have a very small lift, but you find healthy looking young people queuing up to use that lift, which to take 4 people, you really have to squeeze. I always make a joke that it must have been designed for General Tafire only. Because surely if he stood right in the middle, there would be no room for anyone else. It means those young people are unfit. And we only have a 3rd floor. That's where I sit. I religiously use those stairs, going up, coming down, going up, and I'm okay. The young people cannot. So, the physical dimension of your life requires attention. To live to be 95, even when you're on a wheelchair, is okay, because people must remember that he was a sportsman. Those who confronted him playing tennis at Kampala Club and squash, they know. Number 2, your mind. I've already said that. The mental dimension of your life. The 3rd dimension is the social dimension. Your relationships, your friends. Who are your friends? Are you people in touch with the people you met in the early life? I mean, the real friends. When I speak to Tegule, I know I'm speaking to a friend of Mao, not a friend of the minister. Because when you become a minister, you get many friends. But those are friends of the office. And you must be aware that they are friends of the office. Because when you are not in the office, that friendship flies away. And it is okay. So what sort of friendships are you cultivating? I have friends from the age of 12, and we still meet and talk. I encourage you to have that dimension of your life, the social dimension. The last dimension is the spiritual dimension. You are not a result of the Big Bang Theory, surely. You have those paintings there. Do you think if I got the tins of paint and I just threw them on the canvas, a painting will result? That's what Big Bang Theory is. Big Bang. And you know, we find ourselves somehow like this. There's a creator. Wherever there's a creature, there's a creator. And we believe there's a creator called God. I think it is something that I hope Honorable Kasaija adopts it also as the 5th part of his menu. he talked about 4. I was surprised that he never talked about spirituality, prayer, belief in God. It is not good to wait until you are nearer, my God, to thee. Then you start remembering that that dimension exists. Because sooner or later, events happen which force you to value that dimension. Those of us who have survived death, we know what it is like. So, that is what this foundation is all about. In my last conversation with the Right Honorable Robin Anabanja, I told her that this is a fundraising, and I would not accept to come here unless saying something about the bank account of the foundation. And she told me to announce that she will send 10 million shillings. And I owe a lot to Professor Kanyehamba as a mentor, as his student also. And I'm also his successor in office. I'm the 18th Minister of Justice. I never forget that. To show that, you know, I'm not the last. It is always good to remember. And for you people, do you know that you are 1 out of 8 billion people? In case you are feeling too important. There are 8 billion of us, by the way. It's a good thing to always be aware of that. Doesn't diminish who you are, but makes you to realize that work on serving. Professor Kanyehamba served this country with distinction. He was no stranger while in public life to controversy. And you all, I don't know how many of you have not been at the receiving end of his acidic tongue. One day he came to the ministry. I didn't know. He packed downstairs, sent for me. My secretary did not tell me. So the next thing I heard, the media was saying, Professor Kanyehamba said he went to see me in the toilet. So I called him. I said, Professor, how did you know that I was in the toilet? And I didn't know you were around. I would have come down to see you. He said, no. For us, Chiga, when you go to see somebody and they don't show up, then hiding in the toilet. So he said it is an idiomatic expression. It is a figure of speech. And we laughed about it. You have seen him. He has painted everybody's picture in words. I wish you would one day compile what he has had to say about everybody. Right from the president of Uganda down to the traffic police and so on, and to the security forces. So for that, I also wish to pledge 5 million shillings. I would have pledged more, but you know I can't pledge more than the Prime Minister. It cannot be at this occasion. I like those figures like 5, 10, but you know I'm a life member of the foundation, and I hope the board will tell us our obligations as life members. But as Norbert Mao, I'm going to put 5 million on the table. And I hope there will be, at the board's pleasure, annual dinners for fundraising, where we come and have this intellectual jostling as tributes to Professor Kanyehamba. I'm sure he would love that, because he's no pushover. When he was in Parliament, you could not push him. You really had to persuade him for him to abandon his views. So I want to appoint myself also as a fundraiser. So anybody who has ever stood for president knows how to raise money, because it costs a lot of money to run for president. You're having about 40 people moving with you for 4 months. They must eat, they must sleep. You're fueling about 10 cars. So surely you know how to access money. So I'm very good at fundraising. I may not have the money personally, but I know how to fundraise. And all of you who have ever wedded, you also know that you must fundraise for wedding. And those of you who are planning to wed. So I expect a heap of those pledge cards so that I immediately go to the Attorney General and say, please, I go to the Deputy Attorney General, Solicitor General, everybody must contribute to this. And I believe I'll raise more money than all the money that has been pledged here today. And on Monday, there is the cabinet. I'll even mention to the President of Uganda that have been sent by the Kanyehamba Foundation to ask you for your pledge. Because the cause has been put very precisely by Professor Kanyehamba. He told us why we must give. Getting money is not easy. So all those who have given and who are planning to give, on behalf of the guest of honor, the Right Honorable Robin Anabanja, let me thank you most sincerely for dipping your hands in your pockets. The times are hard. So those of you who are contributing, I want to thank you most sincerely. It means that you really feel that this is a good cause. So I will be in touch with my friend Norman, and on Monday evening, please call me. I'm sure I will be giving you a very good report, because I'm going to talk to all the ministers, and even though I may not have enough of these pledge cards, but the others are going to, we needed to have ways of contributing, like bank accounts and things like that. It is these small contributions which make a big foundation, by the way. These pledges of ours of 5 million, 10 million, those are actually exceptions. The real thing that will move this foundation is a young graduate who says, every year I will give 50,000. That is actually what will be pivotal in this foundation. These ones of ours are outliers. That's not what we should aim at. We should go to, at every law dinner of every university, this man, and I know how Ugandans speak when you have now gone. You'll hear the speeches, and you'll feel like slapping people. They will speak what the Baganda call agagambo. Oh, what? People talk. Please, when I depart, I don't want such speeches. And you must know that Kanyehamba is not, of the things he's proud of, I think the least is having been a political leader or a minister. That's actually at the bottom, incidentally. He's a bit like I think he's like our own Thomas Jefferson. Anybody knows Thomas Jefferson? You are not included in those two to answer. You are part of the examining board. You are part of UNEB. Thomas Jefferson was the third president of America. He drafted the Declaration of Independence, which starts with the words, "We hold these truths to be self-evident." In other words, not requiring proof. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. So the goal of government is clear: to secure, not to unsecure, not to loosen those rights. So Professor Kanyehamba is our very own Thomas Jefferson. He can express himself through speech, And he has a flaming pen which burns through to the heart of any thought that you can even imagine. And that is what we are celebrating here, and that is what this foundation is about. I also hope, Tegule, you and I should start another project. We have to talk to these people who charge highly for their rooms to allow us to come and have a book talk, series of book talks by the Kanyehamba Foundation, discussing the books, because he has really, you know, today in Parliament they are doing blood donation. So Kanyehamba has also donated his brain to us through his books. So Tegule, that's your mantle. The foundation has to find sponsors for that. So our duty is to make sure people understand that this is a good cause. Then people will give. We have companies donating all sorts of things. Comedy shows are being sponsored by corporate bodies. You find Nyege Nyege, you have lots of sponsors. Surely this one is better than all those things. So let us have a book talk. We can come up with the name of the scholars who think should be part of this discussion. Makubuya, this world, or Loka Onyango. We even have PLO Lumumba, these other people too. So that there are at least 5 major books that are worth discussing. And we come here together and talk about how the state was formed. Some of you don't know how Africa used to be ruled. There were no elections. It was the leader or the chief was somebody who people feared because of their power of witchcraft. So if a more powerful witch doctor emerged, then that one has to overthrow the other one without election. Because then if I'm a witch doctor and Tegule, God forbid, is also a witch doctor, and for the time being, I'm the powerful one, and all of you are afraid of me. I look at you, you can't look at me straight in the eye. Say, this is the chief, you have to bow. Then Tegule emerges, and Muhimbi starts spreading a rumor that Mao Wagwamo, you no longer have power. Tegule is the man. So everybody starts now going to Tegule. Then all of a sudden I find that I'm now alone with my wives and children. I also now go to Tegule also and say, I now acknowledge. That's how leadership was being done in Africa. And all these are actually in Kanyehamba books. You have to read it. He's a very, very interesting author. With those very, very many words, which went beyond my terms of reference, is there anything I'm supposed to do for the launch? I will only declare it. I wish to now declare the Kanyehamba Foundation officially launched for God and my country.